Hello and welcome to the SimpleView CRM webinar. This webinar today is the Services Advantage, Going Beyond Requests in CRM. My name is Kara Kazmierzik. I'm a CRM analyst here at SimpleView and I will be leading the webinar today. Today's webinar is going to be great for people in the meeting sales department, especially that sales services team. And also really good for anybody who uses CRM, because we'll be looking at some things that are pertinent across the CRM. So on our agenda today, we have partner referrals. We'll be going over in-kind and expenses. We'll look at scheduling, commitments, and then we'll also spend some time on service requests and functions. So with that, I'm going to switch over to our live CRM. Okay, and right now I'm in the member partner user group, so I just want to briefly review where this information that we're going to be adding in meeting sales is going to show up on a member account. So we're in member partner, we're on an account, and then we're going to go down to this benefits summary. And we can see we have the in-kind expense received, and then we also have service requests. Where in this, services. So in the services section, we have service requests, and then we also have partner referrals. So when we get into meeting sales and we're tying the activities that we're setting up in meeting sales back to our members and partners, we always just want to keep in mind that that's that dynamic link that's going to be showing up on the member account that we can then share with our members. You know, when they're asking, what have you done for me lately? We'll have that connection there. So now I'm going to pop over to meeting sales and we'll open up my sample event here, this 2015 PT Fit Conference. Okay, so first off, we're going to get started creating a partner referral for this lead. And I also wanted to mention partner referrals you can create on the account level record. If you're in meeting sales, you can also create those in a number of other user groups. So what is a partner referral? This is a great dynamic way of pulling in records of your members and partners. So those can be account records or listing records that then you can share, and you can also tie back to your members. You know, we've recommended you. We're maybe creating a list of downtown restaurants, etc. So that's what a partner referral is. So we'll look at how we can build that. Okay, so I'm in partner services, partner referrals. I'll do new referral. And you can see since we were in the lead, that's populating in the contents of the lead here. And so then we have our sort options. Okay, so by category, by alpha, that's going to be the name of the account. And then we can also sort by account region. So I always recommend doing by alpha since you don't have to worry about duplicates. Then you have the show contacts. So this really kind of depends on what you're using this referral for. Sometimes if you're creating a referral of a list of downtown restaurants, you know, you don't necessarily need to be sharing the account contacts or the listing contacts on there. But, you know, maybe it's for your meeting planner and she might be wanting to follow up with them. So in that case, you could show contacts as yes. And then you have your search options. Do you want this to be an account search or a listing search? And again, listing search, that's the one I always recommend. Okay, so we have our sort options set up, and now we're getting down to what we're going to be populating into this referral. So we have a few different options here, and I'm just going to go through each one of them. So search by name, this is going to open up just an account name search field that's going to be pulling in from member partner. So I start typing, I get the drop down any matches, and I can click on that and that'll add that into the selected. Okay, I can keep doing that with any other accounts and that'll just build the selected list. But then maybe I change my mind, I only want to recommend a fish called Avalon. I can just remove any of the others that I selected. So that's the search by name. So this is mainly going to be helpful when you already know who you want to be recommending and you really just want to put that link back to their account. Otherwise, you'll probably more likely be using some of these other options. So this simple search here, this is going to be giving you the option to sort by a few of those more common fields on the account or on the listing, okay? So we have account status, and maybe for this example, we only want to be recommending our active accounts. So we can I just moved the other statuses over. If you wanted to, maybe you just want to show the downtown area businesses, or maybe you also want to add south as well. You can just click your control button down, hold that down as you're clicking on the different options to select, and then use those little arrows to move them over. If, for example, you don't really care what the region is, you just want the list that matches your other criteria, you can move that back over, and this selected field, it'll say none, but that's just the same as all, so you wouldn't have to move all of these over if you did want to search by all regions. Okay, then we're going down to category or subcategory. So since this is a listing search, this is giving you your different listing options of categories and subcategories. So for our example, let's scroll down to dining, and I'm just going to give them a list of all the dining options that have a website listing. Okay, I held the shift down to select all those, and now I move them over, and that's into the selected area. Further, you can drill down to tags. Maybe you're using tags to mark all your restaurants in Member Partner. So you could also do that. Just keep in mind, the more filters you add, the more filtered down your results will be. And so maybe you might be, omitting some that you wanted to include. Okay, so our next option here is advanced search. So this is going to give you the full search functionality of what you might be used to when you're building a new custom search or report. Okay, so this is going to be the listing, account, and contact fields available in member record. And this is good if you want to get maybe super specific, or you didn't create a search in Member Partner and you just want to start searching here. So you can actually build that search just by adding information over. Maybe you know the name of a few different companies, and then you also want to add somewhere the listing contains some keywords, so you can actually build that right out. Again, we really just recommend this if you are pretty familiar and comfortable with the search and report builder itself, and really only kind of on unique instances where you have those more drilled down needs. Okay, so we'll get out of that example, and then your last option here is saved search, which is going to give you that functionality of the advanced search, but this is going to be a search that you would have already built in Member Partner, or maybe you have your membership team working on building some searches for good referrals. If they saved that search, that would include available for filters. That means that would then show up here. So you can see somebody in our membership department created a listing level search that's called Restaurants for Referrals. I'm clicking on that. That's going to load up all the search options. I'm going to click select all, and it's showing me 7 listings were returned. Okay, now I'm going on to the next step. So this is step 2 of 3, where it's showing us the results of that search. Right now, none of them are selected. I can do select all, and then maybe as I'm skimming this list, I think, well, I don't really want to recommend this hotel because maybe it's a restaurant in a hotel. Don't want to add that to the list. I can just uncheck it. I'll do next. And here we have our last step, and this is how you're going to be actually sending out that partner referral. Okay, so you can see it's pre-populated with the lead contact. She's set up to receive emails, but we also have this print or mail option, which we'll look at in a minute. Okay, if you wanted to add any additional emails here, such as maybe you wanted to be copied on it, or you wanted to copy your sales manager, you could do so there. You also have the from email, which is defaulting to your user's email, but you can also overwrite that if you want it to come more generic, etc. You can overwrite the subject line. And then we have all of our different listings that we selected populating into this WYSIWYG editor here. Okay, so that means that if you want to add a little note to one of them that's personalized and wasn't, on the listing itself, you can do so. You can also add a little greeting line. You can kind of customize it however you want. You can even get to the point of adding images or other details there. Okay, so you're building that. You can add any attachments. You can add your signature. That would be your user's signature default in the CRM. And then we have this other field here that's send alert emails. So what this is going to do is send an email to each of the partners who you're referring. So we really only recommend you do that maybe if Gigi was actually looking at these restaurants to bring a big group of people that night, because you can imagine every time you're referring a partner, if they get a notification, it could be a little overkill on their end. So if you choose yes, you get another email builder right here, and you can actually use a template if you have one loaded up. So you can choose to send to your partners or not, up to you. For this example, I'll say no. And then you have your option to send the referral either by email, or if we were to choose the print option, I could do send referral. And then this is showing me print out complete. You can even click there to get a PDF to print, and then you click done. And now this is going to be recorded on the lead, and it's also going to be recorded in member partner on all those member accounts, letting them know that they've been referred. Okay, so we scroll back down, partner services, partner referrals, and you can see we have this, this new request right here. Okay, so that's partner referrals. Great way to make those connections with your partners. And now we're going to look at another tab in partner services, which is our in-kind expenses. Okay, so I'm going to set up a new in-kind expense here. So these are great ways to be tracking your either expenses or donations from members. So we have our two different options here. So we can either do an expense, which is going to be the money that you spend at your partner's business, or you can do an in-kind, which is going to be the monetary value that your partners are donating to help bring this group to your destination. Okay, so for us right now, I'll choose in-kind. I'm going to set the date. And you can see member partner is a required field because we're always requiring that you tie your in-kind and expenses back to your members. Okay. So it looks like Pumpington's Energy Drinks had donated some energy drinks for this FIT conference, and those were valued at $160. Again, that's going to be a required field here. And then we have what kind of service was this? I'm going to call this other, but this is a drop down. So just like any other drop downs in your CRM admin does have the option to modify these to make them conform to what you guys need. Okay, held for future use. Were you using this now, or were you just getting in the in-kind and holding on to it? Method of determining value. So these two would be only for the in-kind field. So method of determining value. The business provided the cost. Sometimes your in-kind is going to be a bit more of a guesstimate based on fair market value. And then service description. We can just put in whatever content that'll help you identify that. So I'm going to save that. And now you can see, in addition to that expense we had already in the system, we have this new in-kind here, and it's going to show just some basic information on the grid. Okay, so that's in-kind and expenses. You know, certainly when you're involved in putting on these events, there are going to be a lot of in-kinds and expenses involved. So that's why it's great to be recording them in this area and tying those back. So next, we're going to take a step away from the Partner Services tab, and we're going to look at scheduling. So this scheduling is especially useful if maybe this event is at your convention center, or you know, as part of the correspondence with the meeting planner, you've offered to have certain staff or volunteers on site at the event. This schedule is actually going to let you really obviously schedule it out based on the people who will be where when. So that's what the schedule is. So let's look at adding a new entry here. So we have the required fields registrar. So this registrar is only going to be based on the scheduling tab in meeting sales. So these aren't going to be attached to any accounts or anything like that. If you don't see the person on the list, you can use this quick add feature. Just type in the name, optional phone and email if you want, and that'll add them to that drop down available. Okay, so then we'll choose what are they doing. So again, drop down, you guys can make that whatever you need for your organization. The scheduled date, so this is defaulting to today's date, but you know, in most instances you would be making that more the date around the meeting itself. So you can see, let's just add this, and then you can see this view registration schedule has popped up. So this is nice because you can make sure you're not overbooking, see who else is attached to that day. So it looks like we have Ted Theodore Logan, who's also scheduled on March 31st. He's coming in from 4 to 6. So we can, you know, see maybe after 6 p.m. is when we'll be doing that takedown. So we will set this for 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. and you can see these are just some text fields that are formatting to times, so you can modify those as needed. Hours, so the difference between the start and end time and hours is really going to be basically how you want to use that for reporting. You know, maybe you want to run something that's looking at how many total hours were spent at the event, etc. So that's going to be 3, and then add any notes that you want. You can save that. So now we'll scroll back down to the schedule, and you can see there were a few other registrars set up already. So now this is defaulting to the scheduled date, sorting by that. You can also have the start and end time. We can see that position drop down that we had set up. And now what you can do with this information is you can use this print schedule. And this is going to give you a nice document that you can maybe print out and have on site at the event, or you know, you can turn this into a PDF, email it to people, kind of do what you want with that. And you can see it's also separated out by days, and the notes that we attached are also available there. Okay, so that's a great way to schedule out people who will be on site and kind of help manage all those moving bodies as that may be. Okay, so now we're going to pop back over to the partner services, and now we're going to be looking at commitments. So let's say in our PT Fit conference, this is a pretty big deal. You know, we're really going to be pulling our weight to help the meeting planner make the decision to have this event here. So commitments are really those incentives that you'll be offering to the client as a method of earning their business. So this can be anything from transportation to rebates, meals, maybe you're helping to print things for on-site. So there's a few different things you can set up here. So let's do a new commitment. Okay, it's auto-populating the lead. Now if this were attached to an account, In Member Partner, you could set that up. For example, if we had, maybe we were printing brochures, so maybe we had, the welcome brochure. We can actually attach that to a printer, and that's a printer who's in our Member Partner account. We can choose what type of service is this. So I like to use this to sort by who's the DMO responsible party here. So this would be brochures printed. That's going to be our marketing team. Okay, we can say who's responsible for making this happen. In this instance, we'll say our Member Partner, and then expense date. So this most likely is going to be something in the future. So when do we have to pay for those brochures? This is great because this allows you to be doing budgeting, and maybe you're setting up those commitments years in advance when you're trying to get the meeting planner to choose your city, but in reality you're not going to be paying for those until much later. So that's why this future expense date is really nice on the commitments records. Okay, so cost, we'll say that's 500, and then you see here this actual cost. So once it gets closer to the date, or once you actually spend that money, you can update with the actual cost if that ends up being different than that initial cost that you attached there. Okay, going back over here, we have, this can be attached to a service request if you want. So these are the service requests that are set up in the system. We also have a category and subcategory. So for this material, I'm going to call that an additional request. We have the subcategory of banner. So these subcategories are specific to the category available. Okay, so we can set up any notes that we want. We'll save this. And now, once we've set up that commitment, we go down here and we can see that this approved column is showing this has not been approved because it was just set up. You have this little icon right here where that can be quickly approved if you are one of the CRM users who has the security setting to approve commitments. You can also click into the commitment and you have that approve button right there if maybe you wanted to view it a little bit more. Then you can also go into one of our great standard reports, which is the commitment summary report. Open that up, and then we can just update these dates. And this is going to show us any commitments that are in any status, and here we see those categories and subcategories that we were just looking at. So this is a nice way that those are broken up. And then we can also just see that list of any commitments that match that category or that date range. Okay, so you can also see any filters. Maybe you're the person with the security setting of approving. You can filter this down to see any that have not been approved. And then you can also drill down to a lead status. Okay, so now I see here's this one, a commitment that I had set up just now, and from here I can also click that approve button. Okay, so that's commitments. Another really important budgeting and incentive tracking feature on your lead record. Okay, so now we're going to scroll back down to our partner services and look at service requests. Okay, so I'm going to do a new service request here. So you may be kind of familiar with service requests. They also look a little bit like leads, but they're much more narrowed down. So the idea with service requests is any services that are needed for this meeting, but that don't require room nights. Okay, so one of the most common examples would be like transportation, but maybe you're bringing in food from offsite. Another great way to look at this is what is it that you want to be sending out to your partners. Maybe you want to send out to a few different transportation companies, see who comes in with the best with the best rate, you can actually open up these service requests to your extranet so you can allow members to respond to them just like they would for a lead. Okay, so now we open up a new service request. It's populating in the lead. I'll say, we'll give this a name. We're helping to coordinate the transportation of the guests back to the airport after the event. We can set the status. So these, again, are drop downs customizable by your admin, but you can also set each of these statuses to define whether or not it's available in the extranet. So maybe when you set up your service requests, you want to keep them in a pending status so nobody can respond to them until you switch it to definite. You can just adjust those as needed. Okay, request type. This is just a little bit more of a broader grouping than the request name. Okay, so start and end date, you can see these aren't going to be populating in from the lead dates because presumably you might have other services that are needed outside of those dates. Okay. And then we'll just change this date here. Start and end time, you can keep those blank if you need. You can always add some information about the time and anything else in the description or notes. All of this will be available on the extranet if you choose to display this service request on there. You can also give the deadline. When do you want to hear back? How many people are we going to be transporting? What's the budget here? And what's the location? That's just going to be a plain text field, so that's not going to be attaching back to any member or partner. If you want to add any documentation, you can actually attach the files right there. Okay, so now we have the contact information loading in from the lead. And now we're going to choose who do we want to be sending this service request out to. So we have the options that are very similar to what we were just looking at in the partner referral generating process. In this instance, I know a couple of great transportation companies, so I'm just going to type their names in here. Okay, Adobe Transportation. And then we also have Arizona Shuttle Service. So since I knew those two, I'm just going to add them in here. Once one of them responds, we can check this selected box, but for now we're just going to be adding them to our facilities that we want to offer up this opportunity. Okay, so those are just a couple of custom fields in our training database. I'm going to click Save. And now we have this new service request created. Okay, you can see the send to companies that we had just selected in that search. Any additional fields, if you have any custom fields specific to the service request. And now we have a few tabs that are specific again to the service request. So here we have responses, and then let's jump over to communications. So I've created this service request. Now I want to let people know that it's available. I do new communication. It's pulling in the lead contact, so I don't want to send it to her, so I'm just going to uncheck that. We only had one contact assigned from the two travel transportation companies that we chose, so he's showing up right there. I'm going to switch this to email since I'll be emailing him. You can also add again any additional emails, overwrite the display name, the from email, and then you have these merge templates. So this is just set up to merge in all the pertinent information from the service request. Okay, you also again have the option to attach a file, attach your signature, and then maybe before you actually send this out, you want to just make sure it looks okay. You can actually do a send test communication, and you have the option to enter in an email, and that's only going to send a test to you just so you see what it looks like before you send it out. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and do the send communication. Okay. Okay. So now you can see we're back in that communications tab. We have a record that the service request email was sent. We can also view that detail here. We can even view the full email. It would show every different person who's it's been emailed to. I'm just going to go back in here. And you know, if you are using the extranet, your service request email might be a lot shorter than what we had just looked at. It might just be a simple notification of, hey, we posted a service request to the extranet, make sure to check in there. And then ideally your partners go in, they check it out, and they respond. So if they were to respond over the extranet, that response would be recorded here in the responses tab. You know, maybe Ben from Adobe actually just calls up and lets you know whether he wants to pursue it. You can set up a new response manually, whether or not they pursued the lead. It's always nice, even if they're not pursuing, to record the response just so you know, hey, they did get back to you. Okay, and then you can add any comments in here. You can save this, and then that's going to show up down there. And so now that we have the response back from Adobe, and maybe once that is confirmed that we do want to go with them, we can go in and edit this lead, and we can actually turn them to be the selected property or facility. So for service requests, of course, this isn't necessarily a facility, but it is a account and member partner, and this is going to be the one we're going with. Okay, so you can also add any notes that you want. This is a great place to attach additional documents if you have any other attachments. You can set up traces, automatic traces as well. You can see once we send a communication, that's also going to create a new completed trace in this traces tab. So you have quite a bit of options here in the service requests. Certainly a very powerful tool in the CRM to help manage all the other parts of the lead besides those room nights. Okay, so now that we set that up, I'm going back into my lead. I'm going into partner services and service requests. You can see where that transportation was set up right here. You can see the request type, etc. Looks like this lead has quite a lot of transportation involved. Okay, so now we're going to get to our last tab in the partner services area, and that's going to be our functions. So functions are a pretty new release as of March 2015. So love to hear how you are using functions, what you think about it. They're especially good if this is an event that's going to be held at a convention center, for example, and maybe your services team is really involved in scheduling out the room needs and kind of all the little details attached to the day-to-day events of that lead. So for example, here our PT Fit conference, we do have this as the convention center, yes. So in this example, we are going to be pretty involved. So we're going to want to set up those functions for every different activity that we need kind of scheduling or coordination around. So we do that by going new meeting function. And then you can see these are the fields available. Now this is really customizable to what you need and how you as your DMO wants to use it, because you can see the only required field here is function name. Okay, so we'll set up this function that's a breakfast for the team. You do have the option to tie this back to a member partner. If your convention center is set up as a member partner in that user group, we certainly encourage you to link that back. Otherwise, maybe you're having breakfast off-site at a different location, maybe a different restaurant. You can also attach that into the member partner there. Function type, this is going to be plain text field, but it'll help you group the different functions a little bit more. Okay, so then we have day number, and then we also have event date. So the idea behind this is maybe your services team is really wanting to start laying out all these functions, but maybe the event date hasn't been secured yet. So you could do that by, you could at least get started by using the day number. I know this is going to be day 3 of my event. And then, once you get a little bit closer to the event, you can add in that event date. Or if you know it already, of course, you can add it in there. Okay, start and end time. So these are going to be formatted the same as those other time fields that we saw earlier. You can choose room setup details. So maybe you'll be, passing these functions along to the people who need to set up the room. You can add it in there. You can also add in the room size requirements, whatever you need. So the idea here is this is pretty open, and it's going to be available for you to customize and utilize as you need. So maybe, for your DMO, you only really ever use room size, day number, and start and end time, etc. You can kind of do what works for you. You have a comments field. You can also track, how many attendees are coming to this breakfast. Do you need AV requirements? If you're setting that to yes, you can drill down some more details in the AV description. You can also add additional fields for that size requirements, and also any setup time that would span additionally from this start and end time. Okay, so we save that. And then we can see going back down to our list of functions. Okay, so we have default sort order by name, but you can also sort by, event date once you populate in all those event dates. What's the venue? So that would be that member partner lookup that we had seen before. How many people are attending, etc. So you can see from here, you can actually build out a pretty detailed list of what's happening when and where. And then once you get it all built out, we definitely encourage you to, work with your CRM analyst. Maybe you want to create a custom merge template that you can use for a new communication, and you could send that out to the meeting planner. You could send it out to your convention center. We can also build a bureau report for you that would turn these functions into a nice printable document that you can also, search by event or by arrival. So we can kind of do whatever you need for how you want to be displaying these and working with them in the end once they get all set up. So that's functions. So that actually brings us to the end of the webinar. So we talked about in partner services, we have functions, service requests, partner referrals, in-kind expense, and commitments. Okay, and then we also touched briefly on scheduling. So you can see all these different ways to be attaching what you're doing in your services team back to your members and partners. You can make it really easy to send out that information, distribute it to the meeting planner, to the facilities involved. You can open things up for your partners to respond to through the service requests, and just really with all these different steps help make a really seamless event. So hope this was of help to you, and please check out the related PowerPoint presentation that'll actually give you some step-by-step on how to accomplish each of the different things that we went over today.